On November 24, 1971, a man walked up to a counter at the Portland airport and bought a $20 one-way ticket to Seattle. He signed the name D.B. Cooper. He looked remarkably average. Dressed in a dark suit and dark sunglasses, he was just another quiet businessman blending into the holiday travel crowd. After takeoff, his calm demeanor continued. He ordered a bourbon and soda, then quietly handed a handwritten note to a flight attendant named Florence Schaffner. Assuming it was just a phone number, she slipped it into her purse unread. Cooper leaned toward her and told her she'd better look at it. He had a bomb. When she sat beside him, he opened his briefcase. Inside sat several red cylinders connected by a tangle of wires. He didn't shout and he didn't make a scene. He simply laid out his exact demands: $200,000 in cash, 4 parachutes, and a fuel truck waiting for them on the runway. Cooper's lack of panic inverted the usual chaos of a hijacking. He turned an ordinary commercial flight into a quiet, deeply unsettling hostage situation. When the plane touched down in Seattle, authorities met every single demand. Heavy bags of cash and the parachutes were brought on board, and in exchange, Cooper let all 36 passengers walk free. This dashboard diagram illustrates his highly specific instructions for the remaining flight crew. He ordered them to stay below 10,000 feet, maintain a slow speed, and keep the landing gear partially deployed. These exact parameters were mechanically required. By reducing the cabin pressure and aerodynamic drag, he created the exact conditions necessary for a human to safely open the plane's exterior doors mid-flight. Following his explicit orders, the Boeing 727 disappeared back into a pitch-black, violent storm over the Pacific Northwest. At approximately 8 p.m., a warning light illuminated in the cockpit. The pilots felt a sudden, sharp change in air pressure. Cooper had lowered the plane's rear staircase and jumped directly into the freezing rain, carrying the $200,000. He had successfully executed a mid-air heist, but his leap into the void created a survival scenario that seemed completely impossible. By the time the plane landed safely in Reno, Nevada, the hijacker was entirely gone. All he left behind was a black tie and a tie clip. The FBI launched a massive manhunt, scouring thousands of miles of rugged wilderness and investigating countless suspects. They found absolutely nothing. This complete lack of physical evidence gave rise to the first major school of thought, that Cooper was a brilliant survivor who pulled off a flawless escape. This tactical breakdown shows the evidence for his strategic foresight. His demand for 4 parachutes was likely a bluff. By implying he might force hostages to jump with him, he ensured the FBI wouldn't sabotage the gear. He also possessed deep technical knowledge, knowing the 727 was the only commercial jet with a rear staircase that could open in flight. Proponents of this theory argue Cooper was a highly trained operative or experienced paratrooper who treated the entire hijacking as a surgical military operation. But an opposing perspective quickly emerged among investigators. They argued Cooper was an overconfident amateur who died the second he left the plane. The environmental conditions were catastrophic. He was falling into pitch-black darkness over violently shaking, heavily forested mountains during a freezing rainstorm. Then there was his gear. He jumped wearing a business suit, a trench coat, loafers, and a parachute that couldn't be steered. Seasoned aviation experts pointed out that a true professional would never risk a blind night jump over a forest in a freezing storm without proper skydiving equipment. This split the FBI down the middle. Half the investigators believed they were hunting a criminal genius who beat the system, while the other half believed they were simply looking for a corpse in the woods. In 1980, 9 years after the jump, something unexpected was found buried in the sand along the Columbia River. A young boy digging near the water uncovered bundles of decaying $20 bills, totaling nearly $6,000. Investigators checked the records, and the serial numbers on this buried cash perfectly matched the exact ransom payout given to Cooper. But this discovery contradicted both theories. If he lived, why abandon the cash? And if he died, where was his body and the other $194,000? Instead of solving the case, this physical evidence broke the timeline, dragging a cold case back into the center of an active, baffling mystery. The investigation remained open until 2016. After 45 fruitless years of chasing leads, the FBI officially suspended their active search. The final tally leaves almost nothing but questions. No confirmed suspect was ever named, no body was recovered, the parachute remains missing, and only a tiny fraction of the money was ever found. We are left with the tantalizing possibility that Cooper survived, assumed a new identity, and spent decades watching the world obsess over his vanishing act. D.B. Cooper's legacy is defined by this permanent ambiguity. He is the ultimate modern myth, a man immortalized precisely because his final chapter will likely never be written.